So what's up, Rob?
Oh, not much. Just chilling, man.
Chilling. What are we on? Episode 2?
Second episode, yeah.
An episode. All right.
You know, last week we talked a little bit about Friends. We dabbled in it. Talked about where we grew up at, Virginia. A little bit about my friend circle here in Vegas, but more or less we talked about Virginia. Wanted to circle back, or at least we did. You know, we talked about this pre-show and said, hey, I feel like there's a lot more to unpack when it comes to your friend circle, your network.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a big thing in anybody's life. The people you surround yourself with is a big indication of who you are. You know, like the closest 5 friends you have that you're with on a daily basis, or whatever, the people you come into contact with the most is a really big definition of who you are. You know,
100%. There's a ton of different sayings, right? Your net worth, your network is your net worth. You are a sum.
I've never heard that one. That's dope.
You're a sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
Show me who your friends are. I'll tell you who you are.
But then, you also think about it from one perspective. You know, everyone assumes you have to have an inner circle and you have to have friends. And I think last week we briefly discussed sometimes you just got to, button down the hatches and just put in the work, kind of ignore everyone around you.
Go radio silent.
Yeah, we talk. Cheers, by the way.
Oh, my man.
A little old fashioned today.
Salud.
So, we talk about, you need help, you need a network. I don't think that anybody should realistically operate solo, even if you're like an artist and you're painting and you don't need anyone else's physical help. Sometimes it's good to get perspective, to get insight, to get connections. If you're trying to sell your art, you need to know where to go. And so you need to make friends along the way.
How do you get your art in galleries? How do you get any exposure if, you're not talking to people, or putting yourself out there?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the positive and the negatives of a circle of having people who are like-minded or people who are, they act like they're your friends, but they're always kind of telling you, oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do this, when they have no experience of them, themselves to back that up.
Yeah.
The fear of watching you surpass them is real. And
you talking about like people's jealousy?
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially what it is. If you're
how do you identify those kind of people in your circle? For me, I think it's the passive aggressive comments, the little jokes. Oh, come on, man, I'm just joking. But that same joke keeps coming up over and over and over.
This is the shortest and most simple answer, and what deep down inside is the answer. You just ask yourself, look at your friend and say, are they a net positive for me in my life, or are they a net negative?
That's it, guys. Episode 2 in the book.
That's it, bro.
Figure it out.
I mean, honestly, is there any other measure that you realistically need?
No, I don't. I agree with you 100%. I mean, I guess for the people out there, I'm sure there's a little bit of clarity on that. But I 1,000% agree with you.
Yeah.
Like if these people, having them in your life, if they don't grow, you spiritually, they don't help grow your bank account, your imagination. They don't fill you or fill your cup, which is something me and my wife always like to talk about. And what's the purpose of having them there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think I bring you down. It's like the answer is very obvious. And I always feel like people that have struggles and they tend to blame it on their friend circle. This is like, why don't you cut it out? It seems like the answer is so simple, but yet it's so hard for people to get there. And so, maybe to somebody watching, what do you think the necessary steps are to cutting off a friend? Like, so we sit here and say, hey, look, you got a negative friend. You shouldn't be hanging out with them, but you're still hanging out with them. Right. I mean, me personally, I guess my first thought is just be like, well, just stop hanging out with them. But I guess it's probably not that simple. Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's somebody maybe a roommate.
Yeah.
Or
well, I think that there's a couple ways to go about it, depending on who you are as an individual. If you're somebody who's very straightforward to the point, I mean, that right there is the answer in itself. You just tell them, look, man, I'm busy. I don't have time. Like,
yeah,
we're not on the same page. not knocking it, but I'm just gonna keep it moving, right? And then there's some people, they are very much uncomfortable being confrontational or just being direct, right? Or even setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Those are the people that really need to take a look at themselves, you know? And if you don't feel comfortable with just telling somebody like, yo, man, like I'm not, the way you get down, that's not my style,
Should
man.
they just ghost them?
Well, you know, if you're confrontational or somebody who's in fear of confrontation, you just gradually stop returning phone calls. You know, negative people, there's very little you have to do to get rid of them. They will get rid of themselves. And that's facts. You know what I'm saying? Like you just stop returning phone calls or you send them brief text messages. You're not being rude. You're not being an asshole, but you're kind of sending an indirect message like, "Hey, man, I don't have time for you no more. So I'm busy trying to do something else."
You brought up some memories. So I have a very close friend I moved out here to Vegas with, and I'd like to rekindle with him eventually. And you know, somebody I grew up with. So grew up in Virginia, moved out here to Vegas, and so it's somebody I've known for 30 plus years.
Okay.
And I would say in the last 4 or 5 years, completely cut off.
Right.
And, you know, on one end, I was the degenerate friend. I was the one bringing him down. I originally had a gambling problem. I was out being irresponsible and drinking, borrowing money, and just, I always was the guy needing to pull from other people, right? Hey, I need help moving. Come help me out. It was just an endless stream of using my friends versus, you know, just hanging out with them and trying to see where they're at. And so I was a shit ass friend, basically is where it was. And at some point I had found myself, right?
Roughly how old were you when this was, or how many
so
years back?
I would say probably like 8 or 9 years ago.
9 years ago. So that put you a while, like,
so he moved out here. And so he moved out here, and I've been in Vegas for about 20 years. He moved out here probably like 14, 15 years ago.
Okay.
And so initially we were good friends. He moved in, he was a roommate of mine, and, you know, very close friend. I mean, my closest friend up until recently. I mean, I guess you could still say, you know, he's still a close friend, even though I don't hang out with him. But I was a shit person.
Right.
And he got fed up with it. And so he, you know, which, you know, all due reason. And then at some point he moved out. He didn't really chill too much.
Right.
And then I kind of found myself, right? I had changed a lot of who I was, a lot of my values. Still wasn't where I'm at now, but I definitely realized where I was, and I was ashamed of my actions or how I treated my friends. And so I always was very outgoing. And so people that I had reconnected with or had talked to after a long period of time, I was like, hey, you know what? I was unfair to you as a friend, and I want to appreciate that, you know, you still stuck by me. And so if there's anything I could do for you. And so I was very, very apologetic as far as my actions, not in anything
to this particular individual.
No, just to general.
general.
I mean, I would run into old coworkers, bosses, and things like that. I was very immature when I first started here in Las Vegas in the culinary scene, and so everyone that I had a chance to rekindle with, I a lot of times I was aware of my actions, but must have been a lot of things I wasn't aware of. And so I was just like, hey, you know what? I'm glad to have you around. I'm glad we're hanging out. Yeah. I know I was pretty douchey in the past. And so anyways, this guy just couldn't let go of it. And he was like scarred. So I was just being humble and nice. And he kept like saying over and over again, oh, this is how you are, man. This is how you are. This is what you're doing. Like even the smallest little things, even though I genuinely was trying to be an outgoing person, and perhaps I was just blinded by my own perception. But I know from where I was to where I was from where I was when we were originally friends, when we first moved out here, to where we were when he was harping on me for not being quote unquote a good friend. A lot had changed, and I'm like, man, you're being unfair here, and you're just kind of hanging your hat on the past and saying, well, this is how you've treated me in the past. Anyways, I'm giving a lot of broad explanations here, so it's kind of hard without detail. But what ended up happening was, I was like, look, man, if you can't accept me for who I am and accept the fact that I've perhaps changed and I'm trying to be a good friend here, you can't just keep bringing up the old stuff and say that's how it was in the past. Yeah. So anyways, he ended up getting a girlfriend. His girlfriend and him broke up. They broke up. They're gonna rekindle. I knew my buddy was sleeping with her when they're. Anyways, the girl wasn't right for him.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend had told me that he was sleeping with the girl.
Right.
And anyways, basically, I went up to my homie. They were about to get back together, and I was like, "Look, you don't want to get with her. Here's what's going on." And then he just instantly cut me off. He was like, "You don't know her. You don't understand.
Right.
Like, you're taking someone else's word." And I'm just like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I'm just, as a friend, someone told me they had a relationship with this girl. You're about to get with her. And I just wanted to let you know what someone told me. You can take the information for what you want. And he cut me off. But he had given me such a hard time over this like 3 years that I was ready to cut him off.
Right.
And so what you were saying is that people will cut themselves out. And that's what he did. He cut me off. And I don't know if he expected me to reach out, but I just didn't, as I knew he was positive.
Was that a bit of relief though? Like, man, finally, like, fuck, man.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I did everything I could to make up for my past mistakes, but this dude just like, fuck, him leaving. That's it. I don't have to feel guilty about this shit no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, there's different levels of growth. Like maybe when you guys were hanging out. And you were a bit of a disaster. He was intellectually or emotionally intellectual at a different level than you at that time. And there's no time frame or speed to how people grow emotionally.
Yeah.
And then over the next couple of years, like you did a 10-point jump, and he's still operating on that same fucking dial-up internet. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't grown himself. You over here trying to make amends and trying to be a good person shows that you have growth. Maybe whatever transpired between you guys when you were a disaster left some triggers for him that he's never going to be able to get past.
Yeah.
And not to mention, outside of that, you don't know whom or other people might have did negative shit to him too. So now he's living in this place of fear and hurt and anger that he's not able to see you for who you are today. It's all good though. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one day it'll come full circle. You guys will be cool again. And if not, I mean, that's on him. That's his journey. Your journey is to continue being fucking a boss and keep winning and just grow from not treat people the way you used to.
It always sits on me though. It was on one end, somebody I went to middle school.
Right.
Somebody I knew since I was 10 years old, 30 plus years.
Right.
And somebody that moved all the way across the country because I was like, hey, come to Vegas. Virginia really isn't designed for me and him, right?
Right.
There's certain professions, certain stylistic people that can thrive in Virginia. It wasn't either one of us.
Right.
So I was reached out to him like, hey, come on out here, let's get it. And so for me, it's just like, man, but that's like my childhood homie. But at the time when we cut it off, he was not a net positive for me.
No.
And even though maybe in his perspective, he's like, hey, look, you're taking the side of another guy's perspective. He's telling me she never messed with him. This guy is telling me, hey man, I know you remember Vic from you remember Vic
from Hell's Kitchen?
Yeah.
Redhead?
Yeah. Very honest dude.
Oh yeah, straightforward. Love that guy.
Yeah, he's the one that
he's
like
a stand-up dude. Yeah.
There's certain people that like they have no intention of lying to you, and he was just like he came up to me as a friend. He was like, "Hey Rob," he's like, I met your friend last night, and I just want to know there's some history between that woman and me.
Right.
Like I'm just coming to you as a man. And he's like, I don't want anything weird to happen, and I'm pretty sure it was during this timeline. It sounds like they were probably dating there. I just want to give you the heads up, man, man to man. And so I just relayed that information. And I told him, like, I was like, you take this as you want. I'm like, this is like, I'm not telling you not to do anything. I just wanted to make it aware to you. And I already knew it, but they had already split up. So I figured there was no reason to say anything.
Again, growing out of relationships, especially past relationships, you're supposed to do that. You know what I mean? And if dude couldn't get over it, especially when you're coming at him genuine, it's just not the place or time.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe it'll come full circle. I had very much similar story where this kid moved out here before me, and when we lived in New York, I had to help him out. He was doing bad, right? He got an opportunity to come to Vegas and change his life, and he even asked me, "What do I think?" And I'm like, "Man, bro, it sucks out here for you, bro. Go chase it. Go get it. There's an opportunity. There's got to be a new story to tell." He came out here, and within less than a year and a half, he owned his own house. He moved his wife and kids out here. He was really thriving, right? And when I got out here, I things fell apart for me. Like a certain time in my life in New York, I had it together. Had my own place, had a great job working in Cornell Presbyterian Hospital. Was in great shape.
This is in New York?
In New York, yeah.
I thought you were. I didn't really think you got yourself kind of together until you moved to Vegas.
No, well, what happened was I after I got out of this program called Daytop Village, which if it wasn't for that program, I'll say it straight up, that program helped save my life, right? I avoided prison time because of it. I stopped being a drug addict because of it. I got my good enough diploma while I was upstate. Taught me life skills, taught me little things like how to fill out a resume or an application and how to speak to people, how to be clean, because there was a point in my life where I walked around the streets homeless with filthy clothes. People wouldn't even let me spend the night because if I took my shoes off, I ruined their whole economic situation. Like I just cleared the fucking house. Roaches were running out their fucking apartments. But I had, wound up getting the opportunity to go and work for Cornell Presbyterian. Nothing glamorous. I was, they called it maintenance, but it's basically housekeeping. But at 19 years old, I'm making $20 an hour. I got my own apartment. That's huge in New York. You know what I'm saying? And nothing grand. I rented apartments in people's private homes. I had an apartment in a building. Anyhow, this kid stood in my house because he didn't have a place to go, right? And we built such a good relationship during that time because I treated him like family, right? And he returned in a sense of telling me yo, if things aren't working out for you in New York, because I had lost my job, I just had a back surgery, and even housekeeping was a little too much on my back, so I kept calling out. They eventually let me go. So I'm over here working in this in Applebee's, singing "Happy Birthday to You." Oh God, I wanted to kill myself. What a fucking shit job, right? No offense to anybody still working those kind of jobs.
You got the Dollaritas though.
Hey man, $20 you get 2 entrees and 2 apps. Yo, it's not a bad spot, man. Those boneless wings are fire too. With that said though, he told me come to Vegas, and he had the receipts. He's doing good in life, right? So I'm like, man, if he made it, I'm sure I can do my thing. When I got out here, his bravado, his machismo, like all he wanted to do was show off at his wins.
You moved in.
I moved out here. I came out here with an ex, and we stood in these apartments, Sandpiper Apartments down on Oakey and Charleston, which is right next to a swap meet, which you don't see that shit in New York, right? Anyhow, we were waiting for an apartment to come up. We had the money for the apartment, me and my ex, but he's like, stay with me and my wife for a little bit until they're ready. Save up your money. Bro, when I tell you, man, I'm looking at this dude a week into it, and I'm like, who the fuck are you, bro? Just little passive-aggressive comments, and it instantly made me realize, okay, he's changed, and not in a productive way. He's living a life, and his head is way into a life that he just started living. And it made me feel a certain type of way, man. And I wound up moving out. Me and my ex broke up. She went to Texas to live with her family. So I was out here for Thanksgiving, Christmas, a couple of holidays by myself. Didn't know anybody. And I had to really, really pull my shit together and get out of that situation. We wound up coming back and starting to talk. He apologized. He said, hey, man, I messed up. I'm like, all right, man, it's all love. I appreciate the apology. We tried to move on, but now I'm doing good for myself. And I'm starting to surpass him, right? and it's creating these feelings that are coming out. And
when you were surpassing him, were you still
financially?
Were you living with him still?
No. I had my own place. Financially, emotionally, just and I had to remind him like, yo, in New York, I wasn't, even with all the shit I've been through, I still wasn't no scrub. Like I still went out there and I grinded. Like, did you not think that wasn't gonna happen for me out here in Vegas? That I was just gonna give up and become a crackhead? Like, it's crazy to me, right?
He should have been clapping for you. That's right.
But it made him feel uncomfortable, right? And in my head, I didn't see it at first until multiple people started telling me, like, yo, is that dude jealous of you? Like, shit he does, his mannerisms.
What you just said there, I think that is right there. Remember earlier you asked me, like, hey, how do you judge, who you should keep and who you shouldn't? Right. And I said net positive. I'm pretty sure your other friends, they'll snitch on a homie quick, right? They'll tell you like, hey man, you shouldn't be hanging out with that person.
Yeah.
And I had some friends growing up who was the same shit.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're hanging out with this person, and then all the time they're telling you like, I don't know why you hang out with him. I don't know why you chilling with him. Right. Yo, this dude is using you. Like,
hey, maybe that's what happened with this guy you're talking about. Right? You started doing good in life, and I'm not saying maybe financially or wherever you surpassed him, but you started collecting this emotional intelligence.
I don't know, man.
Right?
And
you try to share this shit with him and try to say, hey, man, like I'm looking out for you, and he couldn't get past it.
He couldn't get past it.
Like, who the fuck is this dude?
And maybe with my own ignorance, maybe I still was reverting back to being a user and I just didn't realize it. And so...
Well, that requires context right there. Because if you over here telling him like,
well, no, I'm
like
just saying,
this girl,
but your own frame
Mm-hmm.
is I'm operating how I'm supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else that doesn't operate how I think it's supposed to is weird, right? That general how human behavior is, right? If you think that everyone should be polite and kind and friendly, and then you see someone being an a-hole, you're like, that stands out, right? And that's just because that's their frame of perspective. And so for me, my frame of perspective, I was being a good friend, right? I was being humble and I was being nice and I was being generous. But I think I also kind of had that frame of mind when I was a crappy friend. And then maybe I just thought like, what's the problem here? Like, why don't they understand where I'm coming from?
Right.
So, But in hindsight, I could see how in the past, in our early friendships and my early connections that I've had with people, I was a shit person. And I can easily identify that. And I know that probably within the last 8 to 10 years, there have been instances where I may not have been, where my head wasn't where it should have been. And I didn't check the boxes of being a good friend a lot of times. And I do that with you all the time. I didn't invite you to pool yesterday, but
we all go through phases, right?
But I will say one thing though. We got the streaming set up here. We got the studio. I will say that this friend, hear me out on this one.
Oh, go ahead.
I decided to stream some video.
That smile right there tells me this is going to be good.
So I got him. That's what it is.
Okay.
And I really hope I rekindle my friendship with him eventually. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
But I started setting up my streaming setup at home. I was playing video games. I was a beast on Call of Duty.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, you know what? Let me take this online. COVID hit. I'm like, let me get the streaming equipment going. Let me stream online. And so if you know anything about me, you've seen our studio, you've seen our production facility, kind of go over the top. It's all about quality. And so that mentality is ingrained in who I am. It's in my DNA. And I did the same thing in my home stream. And so I got 1, maybe 2 people watching me play video games.
Right.
Maybe. Probably not. Maybe 0. Okay. Whatever it is. I'm playing video games. I think I'm a boss. I mean, but realistically, I'm not like elite level top 1%. Right. And so I invested in cameras and monitors and gaming computers and graphics cards. And I'm in thousands of dollars for a streaming setup with 0 viewers. And I just remember this guy telling me, he's like, man, you spending all this money on the streaming stuff. He's like, and yes, it didn't go anywhere on the video game streaming. But that insight and that drive and that drive to quality and that, hey, I'm going to stream. I want to know what the best camera gear is, the best computers, how to do this, what's the nuts and bolts of it. It almost was a spite, man.
Yeah.
It was almost like you laughed at me when I decided to stream. And also, he was streaming too. He had like 50 to 100 live viewers like, watching him play some video games. And so he's looking at me. I got 0 or 1, and he's making a lot of comments. And I don't know, a lot of what you see here in our studio came off of that. And, I had an ex that would, belittle me for this. She might have initially told me, like, hey, let's go out there and get it. And then, when shit hits the fan, she's all like, "Oh, how's that going, by the way?" Before it took off. Like, yeah, how's that YouTube thing going? And I'm just like,
what I noticed, like when you start building friendships, when you're in your adolescence, it's usually based off of what the group thinks is cool, right? That's how friends kind of connect when they're kids, right? Oh, you got the newest video game? All right, cool. You're a gamer. I'm a gamer. Yeah, we're cool.
Well, what do you think cool is? Cool is someone else. If someone else's perspective of cool is they want something there's something they want, and then you get it, right? So, what do you think is cool? A Lambo, a big house, going to the pool and popping bottles. That's things that they want,
right?
They don't really have.
Right. Well, that's like, again, like depending. Like, okay, you play basketball, right? Cool. I play basketball. Right? As you become an adult, though, the requirement for real friendships starts to change, right? You're looking for people who live the same lifestyle. You're looking for people who have the same, mentality, and they're putting out positive energy. They're putting in that work, right? Because when you're adolescents, that shit stops quickly. People start moving out. Kids are no longer kids no more. They're going out to college. They're doing their thing. You lose those friendships. So as an adult,
your friendship circle should mature too.
But with that said, that's why, like, friendships, they always talk about, like, you don't need a big circle because it's really hard as an adult to find people that are like-minded, and to share those same values. It should be easy, but it's not. Just because I show up to the gym doesn't mean I'm going to walk out of there with 100 friends because the people in there are all working out. The rest of their life could be a disaster, And I think with the two individuals we're talking about, we got to a certain point in life where our values no longer connected, our likes no longer connected, right? This guy felt good when he was telling you, like, yo, what are you doing right now? Like, you got no followers, you're spending all this money. There could have been something positive he could have said. For whatever reason, that he didn't give you no light, he didn't give you no positive energy.
Expand on that.
Fucking whack.
Expand on that. I put together a video. So video editing is pretty time consuming, and I sent it to him. That was one of the most disappointing things, was just that he received it, and I was like, hey, let me know what you think. And in one sense, I was kind of excited, I was like, hey, like, I worked really hard video editing. It took me like 2 or 3 days. Imagine you're just kind of sitting there. You're supposed to do X, Y, and Z. You're putting it on the back burner. You're like, this is going to be so good. Did my research, doing my video edits, and so I chopped all this up, and I made the video, and I sent it to him first. And I was like, let me know what you think. And I was just so proud of it. And he was like, oh, you sent me that garbage. He was like, that shit was so bad.
Wow.
He's like, you made me sit through 8 minutes of that. He's like X, Y, Z. It was so bad. It just was just like hammer, nail. And I was just like, I was gutted, bro. And then I was just like, damn, bro. I'm like, did you got anything positive to say? That's some fucked up shit. Or something along the line. I don't know exactly what I said. And then he was just like, well, don't ask my opinion if you can't take, you get what I'm saying. It was something along the line. Don't ask my opinion if you don't want to hear it.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah. And you know what? It probably was bad.
Nah, fuck him.
But the thing is it's just like, at the same time, like, it wasn't that bad. I can go back. I do video editing now at a high level, and I can go back and I can tell you it wasn't that bad. It was decent. Like, it wasn't like super, super cringe. And so,
I don't know, bro. I mean, some people are not supposed to be with you at the finish line. He doesn't sound like somebody that wants to grow together. You know what I mean? Like, he sounds like he wants to be mad at something that happened years ago, so that way he doesn't get to see you continue growing. And he could feel safe in his space with that one particular female who doesn't respect him or has disrespected him in the past. I wonder
if he's still with her.
Yeah, I mean, I at this point, do you really fucking care?
No, I don't.
I'll be honest with you. all the people that have done me wrong in my life, right? I wish them all well. I really do. I don't really want anybody to be in a bad place.
I would be happy to get to rekindle. I'd be happy to hang out with a homie. But I can't pick up the phone though.
For me though, I will say this. For me, I always believe in leaving the door open. But you're coming in knowing that I'm a different person these days. I'll slam that motherfucker right in your face. Like, don't come in here. I don't want to talk about the past because obviously there's a reason we no longer speak or have not spoken because the past went negative. Let's talk about today. Let's talk about where we're going to head in the future. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit there and be angry about some shit that happened when we were kids. You know? We're not kids no more, though. Like, that doesn't fly here. You know, you don't come in, hop on my couch with your feet. That shit, no. I'll Rick James your ass. Eddie Murphy, Charlie Murphy your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like,
let me ask you real quick though. What's your friend circle look like right now? I know we chill. Yeah. We probably don't chill as much as we should. Mm-hmm. But
you think? No,
yeah. You're right.
I'm not fucking talking shit.
But what's your friend circle look like right now? Because I don't hang out with you if it's usually just me or you or you bring the lady or whatever it is. Yeah. I don't see the other side of your friend circle. So
okay, my friend circle is very small. You know, my wife's my best friend, and even though we get on each other's nerves, there wouldn't be anybody in this world I want to spend time with. She knows me just as good as I know her, and hands down trust her. Right. Maybe one day that'll fucking change. But today, that's family, my everything. My other friend is a cop. My other friend who just moved was a retired SWAT officer. My other boy out in the Bay Area, Raj, he works for the city. He's been doing it for like 30 years. My circle is full of grown-ass men that when we get together, this is what we do. We sip something. Maybe we smoke a cigar. We talk. We catch up.
Can we smoke a cigar in here next time?
If you're down.
Do we got the ventilation in here for that?
But
he said, I got a no from the producer.
I'm very big on if you come in and you act a fool, you're not getting invited back. Like, we don't have time for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I had this conversation with you and our producer, Dave, about people being too friendly right away. Right? I'm not okay with that. Like, you got to put your reps in with us. You know what I'm saying? You got to earn that kind of love. We can chop it up. We can be witty and sarcastic, but you can't come in and start acting like we're day ones and start saying some wild shit.
Let me expand on that. Don't you think people that are in that negative friend group will attach themselves to anybody and are so open to making a friendship? Because I feel like it's hard to make friendships with people that are driven, motivated, that are getting it, that, right? You can say here, like, if I'm trying to become wealthy, right? I'm probably going to try to have friends that are wealthy, right? Or at least share similar ideologies as me.
Right.
Those people are probably going to be less reluctant to take on new friends. Mm-hmm. And then if you look at somebody that goes to the bar all the time, that is working 40 hours a week, calls out 2 days a week, has life in shambles, wife hates him, whatever it is, they're probably really friendly. Like, hey man, you want to hang out? You want to go get it? I kind of thought of that. Like, I never really thought about it until just now.
It's exactly what I just said. Like, you got people who have their shit together and that are trying to build a future or expand on what they've already accomplished. They're very careful of who they bring into the circle, right? You got to earn it. Now, then you see these people who are all over the fucking place. They'll plug anybody into the situation so they could tell the same fucking story and they could do the same thing, which is sit there at the bar and just drink, right?
Yeah.
They're funny. They crack these jokes. But outside of that, they got no money in the bank. Their credit's screwed up. Just like you said, their wife or their girlfriend can't stand them because they're out there at the bar smashing, doing what, who knows what. That kind of lifestyle is, I think, to a degree, I think everybody in some sense goes through something similar, but it's how you come out of it. You know, if you're, I mean, I'm 47. If I was still doing shit like that I was doing when I was in my late 20s and 30s,
you gotta grow up, man.
I'd be nowhere in my life right now.
You gotta grow up.
And let me tell you, man, I own my own house. You know, I was homeless at one point in my life. This is the 4th house I've owned, right? And in no way do I feel like I'm at where I want to be, right? I'm grateful. I know I'm blessed because of where I came from and what I've endured to be where I'm at today tells me that I'm going to be successful, whether it's living in a mansion, on a yacht, or just staying right where I'm at and just keep growing and keep building happiness and peace.
You mentioned two groups of people, 2 friend groups, right? You got people that are driven, that are hard to let in the circle. We also talked about people that are at the bar all day, cheating on their wife, whatever it is. You know, so you got 2 very plain and simple polar opposites. What happens when you got that friend that's in the middle? That they work hard, right?
Bro,
and you say all the time, you're like, oh, he's a good guy, but then on the weekends he goes out and drinks. Oh, and then he cheats on this. He's good, but or he's a good husband, but then he does X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
What do you do with that person?
Adding on top of that,
try to save him. You try to
adding on top of that, right? There's that other friend, right? Who maybe they're not as chaotic in those kind of things, but they're always fucking broke. They always need some type of help, right? And again, we're not young, right? They always need you to help them fill out something. They always need your advice on something, right?
What you do with those homies?
You start setting boundaries. You start taking less of their phone calls. You start putting it back on them for them to figure their shit out. And you give them opportunity like, look, I'll help you with this, but if you can't figure this shit out now.
But they're a good friend 5 days of the week and 2 days a week say shit.
Listen.
What do you do?
Well, I mean, that's I don't know.
Because I think there's a lot of people like that.
Create that scenario, like you're a good friend 5 days a week,
and then
2 days you're shit.
Yeah, man.
Then those people shouldn't be in your life.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I agree with you.
They shouldn't be in your life because guess what? When I was in this rehab program,
because I've seen, and the only reason I say that, I'm not trying to throw a hypothetical situation, is that I know a lot of people that are good friends. And here's the best story, real quick, and I'll just give a quick summary.
Please go.
Quick summary is that I might have a friend or someone I'm dating or someone it is, and I'm like, hey, your friend is not a good person, whatever. They do X, Y, and Z. They shit on you or whatever it is, but you could easily say that 5 days of the week, or majority of the time, they're a solid friend. And then they just shit on you. They just shit on you.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
But that's common, right?
A lot more than people should allow it to. Yeah, it is. But again, that's not that person's fault. It's your fault for being okay with accepting a mediocre friendship.
But my perspective is that I always want to help people. And so my thing is like, can I try to get that friendship from 5 to 7 days and be like, hey, like, you know what, you're being unrealistic. You're like, here's my perspective. This is what happened on this day. This is what you asked of me. And I don't think it's fair. That's how I usually approach the situations. And I guess if it doesn't remedy itself and I just keep circling back, maybe that was something similar to what I was saying about my friend. We had plenty of good days. There's plenty of fun stories, but then there was just clashes.
Be clear, what you're saying is, right, or what the words you said is 5 days a week, they're solid, they're on point. It's like having a brother as opposed to just a friend. But then the other 2 days, they're the devil. They're pieces of shit. Or those other 2 days, they're not reliable. They're kind of like negative. They don't have like what are we talking about? Because even in my marriage, my wife or myself, we have bad days. That doesn't change the dynamic of us wanting to be together. Now, again, if you're talking about 5 days they solid and 2 days they over here trying to like come up in your house, disrespect your shit, like you don't get to be Jekyll and Hyde in any relationship. Like your family might tolerate that shit because that's your blood. But a friendship, like I have friends that have mental issues. They didn't have them when we started being friends. And as the years went by, they became abusive, right?
Yeah.
And they're not capable of helping that. And I feel bad for them, but that's not
you tried to?
Yeah, you try and you're like, yo, maybe you need to do this. Like, you know, they spill their shit on you and you're like, it's okay, man. But like after a while,
after a while, if things don't change, I guess
exactly. After a while, it's like, man, that's your story. It's not mine. You know what I mean? Like I feel for you. I feel for you. But your shit is starting to fuck my shit up. And at the end of the day, I came in by myself. And this world, when I leave it, it's going to be by myself.
I guess it goes back to the net positive and net negative. And if you are helping me in life and you're supportive, you're a cheerleader for me, whatever, you're a friend, you're there, you're assisting me, you're motivating me in my goals, then at that point, if one day I piss you off or vice versa, and you're just like, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I know you don't care for that. Whatever it is. I think if it's a net positive, I think at the end of the day you evaluate, right?
Right.
And I think if the more positive the person is, then maybe the better.
There's this analogy that I want to use, right? And for me, this resonates in every part of what I try to bring in a friendship these days, right? I have a lot of stuff like personally, like I'm gonna have a surgery in a couple months. I'm not able to work out the way I want to work out. And that's been an identity of mine for like 30 years, being this fit, strong person, right?
Comeback is the story.
Right.
Comeback
is the
story.
My glass right now is not full, right? I'm operating about 75%.
Can we get the man some more old-fashioned over here or what?
No, but what I'm saying is I surround myself with enough people that their glasses are full, that when I walk into the room, they can pour a little bit of theirs into mine, and we're all operating at the same level, right? If I show up all the time and my glass is less than half empty, and they keep having to pour their shit into my cup in order to get me right, I'm becoming an anchor in my circle, and they don't deserve that. You know what I mean? I want to hang out with people that can match my energy or give me a little of theirs when mine's is down. And I want to be that for them. Well, and if you can't be that at this point in life, I wish you the best, but I'm wishing you the best from a distance.
Let me tell you something. Imagine you're in a room, a work conference, maybe it's a bar, whatever it is. You're in an environment. You're hanging out with a group of people.
Hey, producer, come on, half empty. Step your game up, bro.
You're in an environment, you're hanging out with a group of people. Let's just say it's the best time of your life. Say it's 4 or 5 of you, 3 of you, it doesn't matter. Group of people having the best time of your life. Maybe you're drinking, maybe you're telling stories, maybe you're playing a game, who knows? But everyone's laughing, everyone's smiling, cheesing. It's just like you're gonna leave this room and talk about it for months.
Okay.
So just imagine a euphoric night. In comes in somebody. They walk through the door and they're crying. They're bawling. Their fucking tears just pouring down. What is the energy in that room? What happens to that energy? No matter how good it was.
It changes.
It's instantly, you can't laugh anymore. You can't smile anymore.
Well, okay, we're going to agree to disagree on this one because it depends on who that person is.
It's somebody it's somebody you all know. Somebody you know. Let's just say it's a work party.
Somebody we're all connected to, or it's just a casual.
Yeah, no. It's not just some random passerby.
Because I know me and you will sit in the corner and probably make fun of him.
Producer, we're all hanging out.
Always comes in here with this bullshit fucking cloud.
Yeah. Okay, you gotta. Me, you, producer, are hanging out. The fourth person, and the fourth person busts through the door, bawling ass, crying. But we're having a blast. What happens to energy? It's just instantly sucked out. No matter how good it was, or no matter how good everything was, no matter how good the stories were, how the good connection is, that person literally just sucked the energy out of you. And I look at that scenario, and I kind of imagine that scenario, and that is the dramatic polar opposite of the good time. And I just look at like That's what can potentially happen if you let some Cancer into your group. If you let a friend because if me and you are getting it and we're euphoric on our goals and our
Right.
visions and instead of us sitting in around a room laughing and telling jokes and being happy, me and you are like, hey man, look, bank account, clout, whatever it is, whatever you frame success as, and you're ultimately proud of where you're at and you're getting it, and me and you are happy about it. If we have a third person in our friend circle and they come in and they're just miserable and they want to quit their job and they hate this and they don't like where they're at and they're kind of depressed, it's gonna pull us down.
Yeah, you know what?
Right?
Yeah, it would definitely change the mood of the room, but again, it depends on if that person's really somebody we care about. It doesn't have to necessarily implode the whole night. You know what I mean? That's what friends are for. Like again, like why
I'm not saying
I
not, I'm
wanted
not
the
saying not
difference
show
of,
compassion.
Is this person a devil 2 days, or is this person just going through some shit on certain days? You know, and that scenario will be like, let's say it's me and Dave, me and him are chopping it up, laughing, we're having a ball, and you come in and you're like, yo, I just lost my job, and you're in this mood. Well, you want to know what? Me and Dave have enough. We care about you enough to give you some of our energy and give you a moment.
100%.
But now be clear, right?
But
everybody's allowed to sit in their shit. How long you sit in it is up to you. I'm not sitting there with you.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
And if you sit in there and you start losing that sense of like, I can no longer smell that there's piles of shit around me, that means you've been sitting there way too long, homeboy. Get the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know? So
the analogy I was using, the thought experiment was that someone can dramatically lower your energy.
Right.
And so if it was a friend that came in and they're devastated and you're in my friend circle, I'm going to give you my energy. And that's my whole point exactly, is that your energy can be taken immediately, instantaneously, and it can flip like that.
Yep.
And so I was just thinking like how quick a negative person can attack your energy. And that's just kind of where I'm at. And it's just like, at the end of the day, I'm not at all against, hearing someone out or someone having a bad day or whatever it is. Like, or you can just chew me out and just tell me I'm a shitty person. It's cool. Like, but where are you coming from? Like, what's the reason? What's behind that? And you know what? If you're just having a bad day, then like, hey, I don't really appreciate that. Let's set a boundary. Like, hey, are you aware what just happened? Like things like that. I'm fine having that discussion. I'm not going to write people out on it, but it is interesting to sometimes pull back and think about like how easy it is to let someone else suck out your energy, man.
But that's the thing. Like you said, you use the word boundaries, right? Like your real friends, they trust you enough to be vulnerable with you, right?
Yeah.
And when they're vulnerable with you, because they're really, really your friend, they're not gonna sit there and just fucking woe is me every time, because this is somebody that you brought into. Like, you guys all have the same mission, right?
Do you?
But that's why you pick a certain group of friends as you get older.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe one person has an alcohol problem. Or maybe one person has this inability to keep their dick in their pants, right? But at the end of the day, we're good fucking people, right? So this person's you're gonna hold them accountable. Like, yo, bro, when you're gonna meet somebody, why are you out there like does any woman hold value to you, or why are you always out there drinking, man? Like, that's an empty fucking life. And these people will eventually look at you, and instead of taking it as an attack on their character, they're gonna be like, damn, these people, they know what's up. They have that right mentality. They have the right values. And it's gonna, it's like the fabric, the color of the shirt will eventually bleed out into other places. That's the effect you want for your people. And you want them to have that same thing for you. Now, when I was in that drug program, they had this one little plaque on the wall, and I forget exactly how it went, but it basically says, be careful of the people that you surround yourself with, because the more devastating they are in their life, it's going to become you. You will become part of their devastation. It's like a hurricane. Don't give a fuck who's in the way. So you try and help out, and if you see they're not willing to make a change themselves, you need to cut them off and walk away.
Here,
Because they have no problem coming through your shit and wrecking it.
yeah. I feel like this majority of this conversation has been in regards to the shit friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that, like, once you start to get it, once you start to prioritize your life, put goals, figure out what the hell you want, and you have like a real ambition to go out and get it. And anybody that's really turned the corner that has said, like, you know what, I'm tired of this. Maybe it's I'm tired of drinking. Maybe it's I'm tired of working a 40-hour work week, making, $15 an hour. Maybe whatever your case is, I feel like certain people hit barriers. Sometimes it's not even their own choosing. Sometimes it just life happens. Opportunity presents itself. Maybe you lose your job. Whatever gets you there, you find yourself in these situations where you just got to go out and hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are people that are on the same wavelength as you.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people you need to get on with. And those are the friends that you essentially need to make, because there's the friend that like is the social friend.
Mm-hmm.
You go and hang out at the bar or go to barbecue, whatever it is, you watch football. There's that friend. And then there's a different asset, right? It's a different companion that is a benefit. And it's a symbiotic relationship, right? Where they're and a lot of times for at least me, it falls back to career. And it's just like, hey, this person is goal-driven, oriented, whatever it is. I'm gravitated to them because they're having success, they're making money, or I'm just kind of speaking from experience.
Right.
And you have social guy, maybe it's fantasy football, or maybe it's whatever it is. And then you got somebody that's like, this guy's getting it, and I want to do what he's doing, or at least I'm getting it, and he's also getting it. He's on the same wavelength. That is the goddamn person you need in your life. And if I don't know how to explain it, and I'm trying to sum it up, but people that are on the same kind of mission that you are, that is the people you need. And those people are so fucking hard to find. They are so hard to find, because you'll find people that are disguised as mission, goal-driven, oriented person.
Right.
And then they just want to hang out at the bar and just chill, and they don't want to hang out. They don't want to go home to the wife and kids because their house is shit. And so they just want to be degenerate and bring you in there.
Yeah.
But they might be like, hey, man, I also got this practice and this job and this or whatever it is, and I'm getting it. And then you start hanging out with them and be like, well, tonight, let's just go do that. So for me, basically what I'm saying is that there's this friend that you can find that is so beneficial to your growth if you're goal-oriented, that they're on the same wavelength. If you can find that person, do whatever the fuck you can to keep it close and grow that relationship.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
There's two friends, man. There's friends that lollygag, and there's friends that go out and get it. And the more of those people you have, the better chance you got of making it in fucking life, bro.
I know this guy, Kibo, right? Really cool guy. I think he even fought in the UFC. Like, got his shit together. Like, his wife, beautiful family. Didn't really know him, but introduced a friend of a friend, right? We never wind up connecting, but I remember one time I went to his house. He invited me and my wife over to like a fight party at his house, right? We go, he takes me into this room, right? It was just set up just so him and his homies could sit there and sip on some good bourbons and smoke cigars. And I'm wondering, okay, this is a little awkward because he just take me over here. Like, the house is full of people and it's just me. He pulls me and he sits me down and he gives me this speech, right? And at first, now I know where he got it from. I think it's Cybergenics or something like that. But he hits me with the friends of a season thing, right? There's friends of a reason, friends of a season, blah, blah, blah.
You need to expand on this because I'm so far on the outside looking at it.
What he basically said was people come in and out of your lives, right? Is this going to be a friend for a season? Is this a friend for a particular reason? Like, okay,
Ooh.
this person has something that I'm interested in. Outside of that, though, we're probably not going to be friends, but he's a friend of a reason, right? So it's like a plug and play kind of thing. Like, this person makes me laugh. When I want to laugh, I hang out with him. This person makes me feel good about myself because when I hang out with them, they give me nothing but compliments, right? So at first, he's giving me this shit, and I had a nice buzz, so I wasn't really processing it. But I walked away, and over the next couple of years, and through listening to like this cybergenic shit, when they brought it up, it finally hit me, right? And he goes, not everybody is here for the long haul, right? You're not gonna have people in, solid friends. Like I have my brother Danny, right? He's not my blood. I've known him for 44 years. We met when we were 3 years old. I consider him my brother, right? It's very rare you're going to find a friendship like that. So people come into your life, right? You meet them. They have some positive stuff to offer you. Great. But it doesn't mean they're going to be your circle.
Don't you think? What I mean? Don't you think that even when you find somebody, like let's just say that goal-driven, oriented, same kind of mindset person, don't you think when you find that person, even though you might not hang out with them a lot, even like you're saying, like a season,
right?
That is still somebody you can always hit up or always connect with. Or always like, or am I just being delusional here?
You don't know where that person's going to be 5 years later, right?
But I look at it like me and you.
While they're around you, you take the best out of it.
Like if I stop talking to you for say 2 years, 3 years, and I'm doing X, Y, and Z in the future, I still feel like I can hit you up and be like, hey man, this is what I got going on right now. If you got time, I need you back over here, bro.
Yeah. Well, depending on where I'm at in my life, who knows? Maybe I veer off and I go negative. Maybe I start fucking around with drugs again. Maybe me and my wife don't work out and I meet some other girl and we go down it. Like that's what I mean. Like friends of the sea. You just don't know. Me and you have already had an instance or a situation where we went separate ways for a while. And look, now we're back to hanging out again and we picked up fairly easy, right? Yeah. That's not always guaranteed.
But don't you think most
not always
friendships
guaranteed?
Essentially need that, right?
You would hope.
I don't say you need that, but I think that's like it's a natural characteristic of a solid friendship.
We would all want that, but is that a reality? It's not.
I mean, you see it in all relationships. So you look at a marriage or
Hey, my wife is my best friend, but there are days where I look at her and I'm just like, I just want to beat her.
But she's crossed boundaries, right?
Oh my God, yeah. But I mean,
and your friends have crossed
part
boundaries.
Of a marriage is to test boundaries in a sense. She has a very, very amazing way of doing that to me every single day. But we're going to the wheels fall off on this. Like she's the person that I know we're gonna be okay. Right? You can't always count on that with other people. Yeah, I can't even, there's no guarantee that me and her are going to be together tomorrow or tonight. There's just none. You just, again, friends, the idea of having a positive friend in your life, sadly, is a lot harder than it is to have negative friends.
I need some more like solid goal driven people. I'm just telling you, dude. It is probably the fucking hardest shit.
Yeah,
it's the hardest shit ever to find, man.
Well, that's like me and you had a conversation about the gym, right?
But let me tell you, and I feel like your gym conversation is gonna be exactly the same,
right?
But my thing is it is fucking impossible, and I reach out so hard to find other people to kind of like bring them in. I'm just like, hey, like. I know you're a good person. I've talked to you, whatever. I'll hang out with you. Maybe we're not the closest friends, but like I can see you're not really happy. You're not. And I found something. I'm cool. I'm happy with it. Like just come hang out with me for like 10 minutes, man. Like just come by the studio, come by the business. Let's go have some coffee. Like I'm like kind of trying to reel people in, I guess, that I care about, that I know maybe I'm not the closest friends with. And I'm just like look what I've done, and it's not like from a show off perspective, but I'm just like, hey, like, you know what? I was in the same spot you were. You've complained a lot, and I know you're not ultimately happy with your position. And I just want to show you that, like, hey, I was in the same spot you were. Like, this is what you can do. I'd love to help you out. I love, I'll give you my time. I don't have very much of it, but I'll make it work. I'll give you as much time as I can, because I want what's best for you. And I try to do that with the people I consider my companions or friends. And they're probably not my closest friends, not people I hang out with. But I don't know, man. I can't bring them in, and it's just so fucking hard to find like a good friend, dude.
Yeah, well, that's life, man. It's just life. I don't know if you believe in predetermined and all that. Like it's gonna happen. There's a plan for you. I don't necessarily believe.
I think there's karma.
I think that you make an effort with people that you think are good, and how they respond is exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you gave me the opportunity with this, right? We were at work, and you were like, "Hey, man, maybe we should think about coming up with an idea and doing something." And I wasn't necessarily on the same point with the I think it was something about healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I was like, what about like just talking about like positive shit to help people like that we've been through? Because I know me and you both have colorful past. And look, man, we're on our second episode, and again, you continue to be authentic every day you show up, no matter where you're at. Like I'm not the biggest fan of my job, right? But it definitely provides something in my life financially that lets me do other things that I am passionate about.
It's okay. Well, here, I'll say.
But what I'm saying is, when I come to work, I show up.
Yeah.
Like even if I'm in a bad mood, I show up. I do a great job, and I'm hoping that that's one of the reasons you even bothered to be like, "Yo, Charles, he's about his business. So what do you think about this?" Like some people are never gonna actually. Like there's some people, like you talk about friends. Number one, you will not be my friend if I know you have a shitty work ethic. I 100% guarantee that's exactly what you're going to bring to any relationship. So you show up to work and you're a shitty coworker. Guess what? I am never going to fucking hang out with you. Ever.
No.
Don't invite me to the bar. Don't invite me to your kids' quinceañera. I'm not going.
Isn't it crazy that people always want to invite you to degenerate shit?
Yeah.
Like now that I think about it, at every work situation I've been invited, it's always been like, hey, come here. We're going to drink and be up all night and perhaps do drugs. And I'm going to ignore my wife at home, and we're going to try to like sleep with girls or whatever it is. Or we're going to go to the nightclub or the strip club. I don't think I've ever really been invited to anybody like, hey, I'm having a workshop. That sounds crazy to me, right? Like, hey, like, you know what? I'm going to this conference. I'm going to this speaking event. I'm hearing this speaker. Hey, you know what? I decided to meet up and pay for some classes on this. Would you like to join me? Ain't nobody ever reach out to me on that shit. It's always the only time I get invited is for some dumb shit.
It's phases of people's lives. Like honestly,
But why hasn't anybody's phase came to like the positive?
Bro, not everybody's on that. Not everybody understands the mission. Not everybody cares about the mission or on the same page. Yeah. Yo, Rob, believe it or not, there's a lot of people who maybe even today you talk to don't want to see you fucking win at this. They tell you
a lot of haters.
That's good. They don't fucking care. They don't care. It's like you mentioned about a past relationship where it was like, yeah, you could do it. And you started doing it. And they're like, yeah, how's that work? Like, it's sad, man. Like, well, first of all, I mean, this episode will tell you it's a lot easier to talk about negative friends than it is about positive.
Dude, it's hard. Like 80% of the show has been about negative.
I will say, I was Miami one time to go to something for Bitcoin.
Yeah, for a conference.
And I was like, nope, I'm good. And I wasn't ready for something like that. It wasn't that I was knocking it. I just wasn't personally ready. Right?
Just a good conference, by the way.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. I saw the shirt you wore. I'm sure it was a great conference. It was
a good shirt.
No, but all jokes aside, like everything comes together when it's time.
Yeah.
It's your job.
Friendships as well.
Yeah, it's your job to be aware of when people are being fake, right? It's your job to be aware of the value. Is there any value from this person? Like you said, negative. What net
negative or net positive?
Okay, so it's your job to be like, yeah, this person doesn't serve a purpose, and I don't see them doing it anytime soon. So bye.
What this conversation is kind of made me realize is that it's hard as fuck to find the good side, right? Because it's so easy for us to talk about the negative. And why is that? Because our life experiences have essentially been dominated or have been saturated by negative people in our lives and people we've cut out. And it's so hard to find somebody that's like solid, good person that you can ride or die with, as they say. And so, I guess maybe we'll leave it with that and say, like, you know what? You find a good friend. I don't really know what the best course of action is to like get it. Like, I don't
just be authentic.
I mean, you're just gonna run across these people randomly.
Do not conform to what you think somebody wants you to be. Just continue to be you. And if you come across somebody who's just as real as that, they're gonna respect the differences and the similarities. Yeah. And the people that can't, the people that are like, well, you gotta act this way. Let them go.
Yeah.
Let them go. Yeah. You will find one or two good friends in a lifetime. Hold on to them. Put some effort into it, you know? Like I said, me and you, we've bumped heads, you know? And you're somebody that I do value and I respect. So it's very easy for me to be like, all right, the past is the past. Let's keep it moving. Let's do this. You know what I mean? Because, again, you know, some people go through something for a moment. It doesn't make them a bad person. It's the people that are consistently going through something, like that's a habit, right? And it's people have a way of like you're not a procrastinator. You have a habit of procrastinating. You're not a shitty person. You just have a habit of being shitty. You have every opportunity to change those things, but what are you doing about it? I know there's a lot of stuff I could work on in my life, a lot. You know, and I sit at home sometimes and I'm like, man, like, you know, you want negative today. You could have did a lot more. And there are some days that I'm okay with that. I'm okay just sitting at home, just watching TV, numbing it out a little bit because I put the time in during the course of the week. Some people just...
reflection, dude.
Yeah, some people just, you know, numb it out, man. And, you know, my wife has this saying that's, you know, the bar, right? It's people don't want to feel the feels, right? So it's easier to go and, you know, go out and become inebriated and whatever your choice of poison is, and you're cheating yourself because everything you're hiding from is going to be there the next day when you're sober, right? Everything's going to be there. You will have to face your demons unless you stay at the bottom of this glass every single fucking night. Your choice.
Mine's at the bottom. Yours isn't.
No, so, but you know, you know, it's crazy. My wife stopped drinking, and I don't really drink a lot anymore.
Yeah, I don't drink.
I'm not mad at that. I to be honest, man, after COVID, I was drinking like 1.5 liters of Jameson every 2 days by myself.
I never jumped down that well. But yeah, thank God.
That well was full of Jameson. Me and Uncle Jamie. We have
I will say,
hell of a history.
We used to go out, and he's like, "Let's take a shot of Jameson." I'm like, of all the fancy liquors that are out there on this planet.
I'm cheap. I'm a cheap date.
And like, we both know alcohol. I'm like, you always went to Jameson. I'm just like, can we like pick a nice bourbon or something, bro?
I mean, you're gonna shoot. Like who? Honestly, in my opinion, who shoots a $30 glass of bourbon?
I mean,
I'll sip on a $30 glass. You know what I mean? But to shoot,
I got a nice bar, man. Sometimes I just pour a little shot. Everyone, whatever it is. It's always. I do got Jameson in my house.
We're in a different tax bracket than I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's gonna do it for today's show. Really good conversation. Keep your true friends close, the ones that bring you up, because those are obviously hard to find. I think that's the moral of the story today. Yep. Don't be afraid to weed out the ones that are bringing you down.
We've come up with a name for this podcast. Robin, if you want to tell everybody what it is.
Between Mistakes. Yes. So
I don't think you mentioned that in the beginning.
No. Yeah. So we episode 1.
Yeah. Check us out, man. We got a lot more good stuff to talk about, and you know.
Why do we choose Between Mistakes?
Because you're constantly gonna make them, and in between them is how you're gonna decide if you're gonna live in that mistake and keep repeating it, or you're just gonna move on and the next mistake comes, the next problem comes, and you're gonna have to face it and just learn from them.
All right, I cheers you, but I drink mine already.
Yeah, it's okay. Salud.
All right, till next week.
Peace.
Have a good one.